Just a Good Conversation, podcast number 3. The Webster Dictionary defines willingness as, I quote, is the quality or state of being prepared to do something. Readiness. When I think of Mike Greenlee, that word comes to mind. For 15 years, I had the honor of working alongside Mike at Cal State Fullerton. Viewed as the best baseball player ever to wear the uniform at La Mirada High School, he continued his career at Cal State Fullerton. Mike was inducted into the Cal State Fullerton Athletic Hall of Fame in 2013 with the 1995 NCAA Championship World Series team. That team is regarded as the best baseball team ever to play college baseball. Now working as a design coordinator for the Associated Students at Cal State Fullerton. And with that, my friend and my willingness buddy, Mike Greenlee.
Hey there, Matt.
How are you, bud?
I'm doing all right.
I would have said Mike Greenberg, but we'll get into that story.
We'll get later.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing all right. You said that there was going to be a big breakfast here this morning, and there's no craft services.
It'll come.
Okay.
Comes at 10:30. Right now, you're only allowed 2 bottles of Tavic water.
Beautiful.
They're small waters, like
small.
airplane JetBlue waters.
They are. It's beautiful.
Don't overdrink. All right. Let's hear Mike's story, because you are the first guest not to be born, or at least I don't know this, in Orange County.
I was not born in Orange County.
Right.
I was born in Downey. Rio Honda Hospital.
My grandparents' hometown.
My mother was born there, and I believe maybe my grandparents were born there.
How old is that hospital? Now, I'm not dating your grandparents,
I don't know.
but...
Maybe not that particular hospital, but I know the same doctor gave birth to numerous people in our family.
Okay.
I had the same doctor until I was probably, 13 or 14.
Wow.
He gave birth to me and all the way through,
Right.
and it was at the same medical center. They moved to La Mirada from Downey, and it was pretty interesting having the same doctor. And now, like, with insurance and different healthcare organizations, it's totally different than the way we grew up.
Yeah.
And you don't get that level of service or knowledge of the patients that you once had.
Yeah,
they saw me coming out of the womb.
Your doctor doesn't know you.
He doesn't know me.
Yeah. So you're the oldest of 3.
Oldest of 3. Yeah, we're all 5 years apart.
Wow, that's good math.
Yeah, we're all 5 years apart. So my younger brother Matt is, what am I, 46 now? So he's 36.
Math, yeah.
He's 36, and my sister is
31. Yep.
So
was that planned, like a congressional Senate kind of term?
I don't think so. I think. I don't know. I've never really discussed it. One of them is an oops.
Okay.
I don't know if it was the youngest or the middle one, but
after 15 years, that might be an oops.
Exactly. So, we grew up in.
Did you grow up in the house that I know where your mom lives now in La Mirada?
Most of my life.
Okay.
That was a new house when they bought it in, I think it was 1977. It was like
that whole track area.
So La Mirada is a very old area. They've got a lot of houses, those cookie cutter houses from the 50s and that kind of stuff. But the track that we were in was kind of a new. I want to say when I was growing up, Yorba Linda was that type of area.
Right.
Now, like the Coto de Casas and going south, but La Mirada was kind of, that area was a little bit on the middle upper class type of area, and I think my mom and dad got in early on a good price in the house. And
that's great.
Back then. So we moved from Norwalk. They grew up in Norwalk. My mom and dad lived probably 20 houses apart from each other.
Wow.
And my mom...
So they knew each other growing up?
They went to high school together.
Okay.
For sure. I don't know about elementary school, but my dad was 4 years older, so he was a senior when my mom was a freshman type of thing. But my mom and her best friend were next door neighbors. My dad and his brother both married. So my mom and dad got married, and the brother of my uncle married my mom's best friend. So it was kind of a weird... like I said, within 20 houses of each other down the street.
Right.
And so it's kind of an interesting story of mom and dad. And then we ended up moving. I think they moved to a house after they got married. That's where I was born, in Norwalk.
Okay.
Or I was born in Downey, but they lived in Norwalk. And then we moved to La Mirada, and I pretty much stayed there until I was 23, 24, something like that. Yeah, and then I moved out.
Now, you're right at the end of the park, right? That house?
Yep.
I mean, that must be great that you've got that giant, long river park with bridges and the whole thing. I mean, it's like an extension of a playground.
It totally was. Grew up. We're right there on La Mirada Boulevard, so it was kind of crazy. You couldn't go that way, or else you get hit by a car.
Right.
But going down, down the street, it was a long, I don't know what it is, 2, 3, 4 football fields long. It's a street, and then the park runs adjacent to it. Bridges, and that was a BMX wonderland.
Right.
Take the bike down, go down the hill, hit the bridge, clear the whole bridge. There was 3 or 4 bridges going down that way, and then there was a tunnel. There's crawdads growing in the sewer. I don't know. They called it the sewer, but it wasn't really a sewer. I think
it was just
it's runoff water.
Right.
But there's a lot of moss and crawdads and whatnot, and underneath the bridges, water would pool up, and then frogs would grow, and so you'd see tadpoles and little mini frogs, and it was kind of a cool place.
So did you have a lot of kids in the neighborhood? What was your neighborhood like? Because I talked about this with Phil the other day. Like, depending on your neighborhood, were you the oldest, or were there new kids moving in, or was there?
There was probably 4 of us the same age, but to be honest, it was weird because the street got kind of cut up. Everybody at the end of the street was like the end of the street.
Right.
People in the middle street kind of hung out, and then me and Valerie, who lived across the street, we were kind of the same age growing up, and we just had that boy-girl, like, I hate boys, I hate girls type stuff. So we didn't really hang out. What's funny is, like, I grew to respect her, like, going up through high school and stuff, and she's actually become a really good interior designer in Newport Beach, and follow her on stuff. And I remember her, in her room drawing, and her first start into that type of world in her education. So I didn't have a ton of friends on my street, per se.
That park would be perfect for just like.
Oh, I mean, when friends came over, when people came over, that's where we went. We rode our bikes down there. We hung out there. A lot of wiffle ball games, wiffle ball tournaments, that kind of stuff. We would set up. We'd line our bikes and throw blankets over them to create walls, and then we'd be able to move the field wherever we want. So we'd play a couple days in a certain area, and then the wind would change, and we don't want that wind, so we'd go and find somewhere else to play. So it was a great place. Down at the end of that park, there's actually a hilly area.
Right.
So for the war games, the shooting, the hide and seeks, it was perfect for that kind of stuff. So you can go into the park and then up into the hill, into the trees and stuff like that. And then there at the end was like a tunnel. Well, actually, both ends there's a tunnel. One tunnel goes to Biola College, and the other end goes back behind where currently Home Depot is.
Right.
So you could go and explore even further.
How far would you go?
On a typical day, I wouldn't go past the end of our street. But when I was exploring, I'd go down, I don't know, maybe I think it hits Lambert or Leffingwell down there somewhere.
That's a pretty good far.
It's a pretty good ride.
You get that boy juices going. You're like, I'm going
exactly. But I didn't have a lot of friends on the street, so it was dependent on
who came
my
over?
friends coming over or me going to their house. I mean, we would go other places. I had friends that lived over by the golf course in La Mirada, so I don't know what that is. It's probably not very far, but as a 10, 11, 12-year-old riding his bike, it was a distance.
Right. Well, now, were your parents pretty open to just letting you go?
Yeah, I mean, I think
helicopter parents wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah, I was going to say it wasn't a thing back then. I mean, I still had to get permission and still had to, like, my parents were pretty much like
little Mikey's in the tunnel again.
Yeah, exactly. And I was a good kid for the most part too. I didn't get myself in a lot of trouble, so
no run-ins with the law.
No.
Okay,
no,
good.
No.
Good.
That stuff.
Even though you had a college right across the street from you, little sleepy Biola.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of a cool place to go explore too. It was a good place that had a big flat open area to ride your bike. There's a pool that you go in the summer. They had open. Yeah, the pool at Biola, you'd go and pay, I think it was 75 cents to get in. And you'd go and you'd stay there all day.
Right.
You know, it's supervised and whatnot.
Right. Some Biola girl watching you all day swim.
Yeah, I mean, they had lessons and the whole thing. I mean, it was very similar to what, Cal State Fullerton offers, but it was way more like just kids
but it was
rolling in.
Literally across the street.
You would bring $1, so you could have 75 cents to get into the pool and then 25 cents to get some candy or whatever at the snack shack. because they allowed drinks and candy at the pool. And so
M&Ms and soda.
Exactly,
oh my gosh,
exactly. So
was it gluten free? Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah. Which is better? You don't want gluten free M&Ms.
Little things like Todd Worrell, the old baseball player, the pitcher. He went to Biola, so you'd see his name on the wall and be like, "Oh, Todd Worrell went here," even though he played for the Cardinals. I mean, later for the Dodgers, but he was a major leaguer. Played right across the street.
You could have had his baseball card, so you're like, well,
right. I could have gone to see him play. That was another thing. There's a baseball field over there. You never know what's going on. It was way nicer than the Little League fields that I grew up with, but I actually never saw them playing. I don't know if they didn't have the program or if they were always practicing when I wasn't around, or maybe I was only going over there during the summer and nothing was going on. So, it was a really cool area. I mean, La Mirada Regional Park is nearby.
Right.
They had, right now, I don't know what they're famous for. Back then, there was a BMX track.
Did you used to ride that?
I got crushed on that thing once. Really bad in my man parts. I went over there by myself, went down. It was a really steep drop in. They had the cages and everything where you line your bikes up and it drops down. You go over that thing and you start pedaling. First jump was a tabletop. You come out of a curve, tabletop, went up, and I had a...
Could you close your eyes right now and run that course through your head?
I can. Actually, I can. I'm doing it like that's what I was doing right now.
That's the best part of childhood.
Absolutely. I had a Mongoose BMX bike.
I had that.
Shiny blue,
mine was
chrome. It was chrome with the blue pads. Beautiful. Got it for Christmas. It was one of those things I wanted. Took it up to the Burger King to get a Coke in the summertime.
Yes.
Walked in, got a Coke, came out, bike was gone. Stolen. So the replacement bike is what I took to the BMX track. Replacement bike was a bike that got at a garage sale for probably $5. Didn't have the tightest handlebars. Hit that tabletop, came down on the other side. Bars swooped all the way down. My crotch hit the gooseneck that didn't have the nice shiny blue pads that wouldn't have helped anyway. And I remember laying in the middle of that track by myself, crying.
Sure. I'm tearing up now.
Just bawling. And then I walked that bike home. And
angry at that bike, I'm sure. Bike's fault.
I was afraid of what was going on underneath my pants. And the discoloration was not good at that point. And I was
how old are you at this point?
11, 12.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Embarrassed.
Right.
Not something you want to go show mom.
Probably at that point, the most extreme pain you have felt.
Absolutely at that point.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I had my finger chopped off in elementary school by a door by the school bully. Tip of my finger was stuck in the door. I wanted to be the first guy in line. Put the hand up on the door. He comes in and shuts the door, and my finger was in the big steel elementary school door.
Yeah.
In the crack. They finally opened it up, and it was just dangling there. So it got reattached. That was the most pain that I remember.
Not your man parts.
But then that was probably most embarrassing because I didn't want to show mom, didn't want to show dad. At that point, I was pretty guarded.
And you got a limp handle bike where you got to pull back.
It's not even my bike. You know what I mean? That was what was frustrating. It's like I'd go and I'd tighten that thing down as tight as I could, and it let me down. And I don't know if you remember that scene in Karate Kid when he throws his bike because he's mad at it.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I got home and I threw that. Eventually got the mongoose back. The police found it.
Wow.
Didn't look like my mongoose anymore.
No.
They had dismantled it, put new parts on it, new pedals, new tires, new brakes. It was the frame that they had the.
How the hell did they find
serial number? I don't know. A serial number on it, because my parents had just bought it. There was a receipt and serial numbers and all that stuff.
So you reported it.
We reported it stolen and all that stuff.
That's very American.
I know exactly. Got it back. It wasn't my bike though. It totally didn't ride like my old mongoose. So never.
In which way did it ride better, just because it wasn't yours?
It wasn't mine. It didn't feel like the mongoose that I had stolen. But I mean,
did you keep it?
Yeah, I mean, it was my bike. Right. It's the only bike I had. I wasn't getting another. I don't know what the bike cost at that point. $200-$300 maybe.
Right. So you got
that was expensive.
Spruced up mongoose bike.
Yeah, red. It had red pedals on it, and it had no pads on it. All the braking system had changed. They'd put new brakes on it. It had red tires on it. So like
whoever stole your bike really wanted to upgrade.
They messed it up. They messed it up. It was so much better. So yeah, we had La Mirada Regional Park too. That was a fun place to be. They had all those metal slides, the big rocket ship that was built like a giant. I mean, it was probably 3 stories tall. You climb all the way up, all steel. Burning kids.
130 degrees in the
burning
July.
Kids. It didn't matter. It was a cool place.
Even when you knew it was hot. Still got on
Still go. Absolutely. Yeah. You figure out a way to use your feet instead of your thighs.
Your tough skin jeans.
Your jeans.
And you just go for it.
Yeah.
They wax up sooner or later. Exactly. Either the jeans or your ass. One of them.
So that place was cool. La Mirada Golf Course. Did a little bit of golfing growing up, but it was a cool place to live.
Where did baseball start to become a love for you? Because you are in love with baseball.
Yes.
So where did that love start? Were you just a sports guy, or did it fall to baseball?
It fell to baseball. I remember my first memory of baseball.
Okay.
1981, my dad took me to the World Series.
Wow.
I think that was my first game. I think I went.
Yeah, how old?
I'm 74 to 81.
Yeah,
so 7 years old. It's in the 6 to 7 year old range. I'd probably played t-ball.
Okay.
Maybe that first little league step above t-ball.
Right. Just the two of you.
I think we went with his partner, his business partner.
Okay.
They had 4 tickets. I think the 3 of us went, maybe a 4th at the time. I don't know. They probably weren't ticket prices like they are today.
No, it was $375 to go to the game.
Exactly.
The World Series.
I remember I walked up the first time seeing the stadium, or my first memory is walking up. We were behind the foul pole. Rick Monday was out there, white right. Dodger uniform, number 16, and all the bunting was around the stadium. All the the flags and all that stuff was going on. I don't remember much about the game. I've actually tried to look at it. I can't remember if I went to game 1 or game 5. I don't remember what it was.
Was it a night game?
It was dusk. Yeah, it was dusk. So it was an evening game, and it got dark. I remember it being dark, but I don't remember much about the game. But from then on, I was a Dodger fan. I think I was a baseball fan. And just kept going with Little League. I mean, Little League was my life. I mean, for a long time, I couldn't wait for whenever it was, April or February, right. when you'd sign up in February and then opening day in April, and then you play find out who's on your team.
Do you get Jimmy? Do you get Bob?
Exactly.
Who's this guy? New kid moves into the neighborhood, whatever.
Yeah, and there was no reason for it for me. Like, I didn't have, like, today kids are going and they're playing summer leagues to get better. And
right.
I was playing baseball because I really loved it. And I think I was one of those, like, I had potential type of guys. I threw hard, but I couldn't control it. I was okay at hitting early on in my baseball career. That changed. I'm not a good hitter, was never a good hitter. Just growing up, it was something that I enjoyed doing, and something I look forward to every year.
Okay.
And I didn't play summer ball, so there was a long time between July or whenever baseball season stopped.
Right, because it was
until the next February.
Right, when we were kids, it was a little season.
Yeah.
Now that it's constant
year round. Yeah.
Training.
Yeah.
Playing, traveling. Tournaments for weeks in Vegas, in Arizona.
Yep.
You got it's just so taxing
on everybody. Parents, the player, but the parents and the families
staff
and everybody. Absolutely.
Now, so did no other sport pique your interest, whether it was basketball or football or swimming?
I tried soccer one year.
Okay, and that's a very good sport to put a kid into C.
Yeah.
Do you got coordination? Can you run?
I didn't care for it. I don't know. I tried it, played a season. I played the whole thing.
Right.
My mom and dad were always like, "You're going to sign up for this. You're going to do it." Even though I wanted to give up, because I didn't really care for it. Like, I didn't understand why you'd be the back right wing guy,
right,
when the front 3 guys always had the ball. What was the point of playing? That was no fun.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be the guy scoring a goal every once in a while, but I played with some good soccer players, so it wasn't my thing. So I played 1 year, played NJB, which is basketball.
Okay.
Played, I want to say 2 seasons of that.
See, that's where I would think people would start to peg you, because obviously it's a podcast, so people don't see that you're a tall man.
I wasn't always tall,
right.
though.
But as you start to get tall, people
Yes.
go, oh, you want to play basketball?
Right.
Oh, no one says, hey, 6'4" guy, you should be playing baseball. It's immediately they start pegging you into volleyball,
Right.
basketball, something long and lanky. When did your spurt grow and all of a sudden you just
It was the
became
same as my daughter, 11 years old. The summer after 5th grade.
Is that a Greenlee trait?
I guess so. I mean, she's doing the same thing right now, but I grew 6 inches that summer in 3 months. It hurt really bad. It really bad. And I think it affected my running and my all that stuff in the future, because I grew legitimately 6 inches between 5th and 6th grade. I came back and I was taller. I was like knobby-kneed.
Right.
My shins hurt, my ankles hurt, my knees hurt all the time. You know, it didn't stop me from doing kid stuff, but
right. But there's this growing pain like you're 90 years old in your body.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just like I couldn't stop moving my legs when I was sleeping, that kind of stuff. So
I never had that problem. Tell me about this.
Wait, it might come. It might come. Elementary school, we had the elementary school sports where the schools would play each other. We play flag football and basketball and things like that. And I would always go out for those because I was fairly athletic. Play those. As I was getting older, my baseball skills were being noticed by people. So when we were playing 6th grade flag football, I was the quarterback.
Okay.
The quarterback hurt himself and couldn't be the quarterback, so I was the quarterback because I could throw the ball.
Right.
I wasn't a very good quarterback. I don't understand that whole being able to decide on the fly where you're going to throw. Like, if you told me you're going to throw to Matt, he's going to go here and here, I could do that. But if I have options, no chance.
Right.
I'm going to throw to the first thing I see. So my arm was good. I could run fairly. I wasn't fast, but I was agile, whatever. Basketball, from 5th grade, I tried out for the team, didn't make it, come back. All of a sudden, I'm one of the top 3 tall kids in the school, and all of a sudden I'm on the basketball team.
Very Michael Jordan of
Right, exactly. Was on the basketball team, and what else did we do? There was no volleyball, softball. I mean, we play in elementary school, so. But that was it. I mean, high school, I ended up playing.
So you go to high school. Where does it all of a sudden become you separate yourself from the pack?
What's interesting is, and I would say that this is a story of my entire life, is I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
I don't know what's going on at the time. I mean, it's different now than it is then. So you can sit here and go, how did you not know? But back then, it was like you're playing high school baseball.
Right.
There was no end game to that. There was no, you're going to go to college. And even if you did go to college, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. So I actually chose, my sophomore year, I chose to play my senior league, little league, instead of varsity baseball, or JV baseball as a freshman.
Okay.
I choose little league over playing high school ball.
Okay. As a freshman.
Okay. So whatever that is, 13 years old, 14 years old.
Now, were there tryouts for you then so that you could have made varsity as a freshman? Because that.
Yeah. No, the high school coach actually was like, what are you going to do? Are you going to play baseball or are you going to what are you going to do? So he was there watching, and I chose, because I didn't know the implications.
Right.
And it really ultimately didn't matter, but at the time I had an opportunity. I could have made varsity as a freshman. I could have. But
nobody said to you, Mike,
no,
Michael.
No.
Little Mikey.
No.
Right.
No, and
So that's interesting. At that time, it's in your hands.
Absolutely.
Today,
and again,
today, you're at an advisor, or called uncle.
Right.
I'm winking.
Exactly.
Right? Your dad, your mom, your social media, everybody will be telling you how to run your life.
And this isn't a fault. I look back and I say this is a reason, but I never blame my dad or my mom for not knowing these things.
Right,
because
absolutely not.
Again, I'm sure we'll get to it, but this is how I ended up playing baseball at Cal State Fullerton.
Right.
My dad didn't say go play baseball. My dad was saying go to school, but he wasn't saying where, he wasn't saying how, he wasn't saying this is what you should be doing. So I was making these decisions on the fly at the last second, with no forethought as to why or what I was doing. So, I play that senior league, and I'm a star. Because
how much of a star? Like, by far the best?
I'm the best pitcher out there. I mean, I'm playing shortstop, and I'm not like a power hitter or anything like that, but I'm playing shortstop. I'm the best athlete on my team for sure. I'm an all-star. You know what I mean? I'm an all-star. I'm pitching. I'm the number 1 pitcher on the all-star team or the number 2 pitcher on the all-star team. So I'm good as a 13-year-old, 14-year-old.
Because I say that because I was very fortunate. I played with people where everybody knew, you could see it. Best person on the field, best person in the league, best person in the conference, best person in California. Like, it was just wow.
Right. I think at that point I'm on my path to that. I'm not that guy yet.
Okay.
I'm on All Stars. The coach is coming out. He's scouting me in my senior league.
Right.
You can tell he's not happy because
this is what, 85, 86?
Oh no, let's see, 80. So we're talking my freshman year in high school is 87, 88.
Okay.
Let's see, 87, 88-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, 89 was my sophomore year where I played, I believe, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So I finished that up. He basically, coach says, you're going to come play. And my hair is growing out long, and I don't even know what I'm doing. Everybody's got a mullet.
You're just a kid.
Yeah. I come out, and all my buddies that I've played Little League growing up with, they've already put in their freshman year at JV. They've put, and then I come in, and I don't know if I earned my way or if I was just put on the varsity team, but I'm a sophomore on the varsity team with my buddies that had just done JV and went through that process. So first year, go ahead.
That's interesting, though, because that doesn't happen today. There is no other league to play outside of high school baseball. It's now an assembly line, 7th and 8th grade, and you're moving through and you're being watched, and now you're going to, and now people are deciding, what school do I go to? Do I go to this school? Do I go to that school? Do I do the hold my kid back crap so he can be 1 year bigger, stronger, faster?
Yeah.
You make that decision.
You're being recruited to go to certain high schools.
Right.
That just seems out of the question from when I was going to high school.
Can you imagine if Whittier, Cal High would have come to Mike and said, I think you should come play for us.
Right. I don't know what I would have done.
Why?
Exactly. I don't know what I would have done.
Right. Why do you want me to become a condor?
Right. Yeah. This is where I was supposed to go. Right. Why are you offering me these things? Yeah. No, that wasn't.
So you're moving into the sophomore year.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, was there any animosity, any kind of feeling like all of a sudden you've come from out of our JV freshman, now you're a sophomore on the team?
I didn't feel that.
Okay.
I didn't feel that. My high school coach is actually an NFL referee now, Tony Careni, and he ran a pretty, from what I've learned over the years, he ran a college program at a high school level before that was a thing.
Right.
We were very, very much organized like a college practice. He ran the team very much like George Horton did. Fatherly figure. I would consider him one of my early mentors without him knowing that. You know what I mean? I learned a lot of my temperament when I later coached high school baseball and just how I carried myself through baseball. But there was no animosity. I didn't feel that at all. I did feel a little bit out of place because I wasn't part of that team moving in. So I felt a little out of place, and maybe, again, as a sophomore, I'm still growing up, and I think I was like 5-5 and got, 20 innings and was the number 3 or number 4 pitcher in a high school team, which really is just middle relief. Right. But I was getting starts and doing whatever, and we were pretty good. Actually, La Mirada at the time, I think they had either won CIF or something in the 80s, late 80s, 88, 89. or 87, 88, somewhere around there. So a couple years removed from like they won the big championship.
Right.
Again, I don't even know what this is. Like, cool, you won a championship.
Well, you have no older brother who went there 5 years prior.
Nope.
And to say like, okay, listen, we have this tradition here at La Mirada baseball.
Right.
You're coming in, you're gonna follow it.
Yep.
So you're
I'm just coming in. Yeah.
Blind, happy kid.
Yep. Yeah.
Boy, that must have been just beautiful.
It was great.
Because today, you got 8th graders that know everything about everybody's school.
Right.
And kids make decisions. I'm not going to school X because they already have a shortstop there.
Yeah.
Or I'm not, right? Isn't that silly?
Yeah, it's really silly. It takes away a lot of the joy of the sport.
Right. And it's from administrators, coaches, parents to the kids.
Everywhere. Yeah. All the way down. It's like a little mini business. I mean, the fundraising that they do now, everybody's got I thought it was cool when you got the no snap hat. You got the
right.
You've made it.
Finally.
Yeah. But nobody in the stands had that because you as a player have that. Now the people in the stands have the same gear the players are wearing.
Right.
So there's no like differentiate, like you're not feeling special as that player anymore. Like I remember we got those, the big game jackets, I don't know what was
big
it?
Puffy.
Big puffy, like that. I wore that thing all the time on campus. Big man on campus. It wasn't my Letterman's jacket, but like.
But
it
only
was
the baseball players.
Only the baseball players had it.
Right.
Had your number on it.
Right.
Like it was yours.
Right.
That kind of thing. So like that's where I started feeling this shift. My junior year, I don't know, something happened and
now, are you done growing? Or are you still growing a little bit?
Let's see. I may have another inch in me. My weight definitely went up since then.
That's what I was saying. What's your weight from that?
Then I was
15
about
to 16.
I was 6'2", 180.
Okay.
Something like that. So pretty big kid, pretty imposing figure on the mound, tall and lanky, Jack McDowell-ish, like that kind. I've definitely filled out since then and filled out into college even more from that point. But good size.
Now, here's another thing. There's no weight training.
No.
There's no have nutritional value, get this, eat that, do that. It's just you eating what your mom puts in front of you and whatever exercise takes place.
Yeah.
But there's no today's powerlifting leg day.
We did a little weightlifting in the off season.
But not like
it was our PE class.
Right.
And the coach didn't even show up. So we were managing ourselves. He would give us a suggested, we had an assistant coach come in every once in a while just to manage and make sure that no one died underneath the barbells. Right. But, pitchers were not lifting weights. Pitchers were doing long reps, light weights, stretching. They didn't even have us running at that point. Like
Servite's weight room today is better than the Rams training facility when they were here in the 80s. My mom took me one time, and theirs looked like a bad hotel weight room. Mm-hmm. Now, Servite's weight room today looks like some just facility. It's a compound with tires and pads and boxes and racks and everything's branded and labeled and slogans and not the ones with the bad eagles that say inspire to be great. No, it's,
full-fledged, major league.
Full-fledged, yes.
Yeah. It wasn't that.
So whatever weight you were putting on was just whatever mom put in front of you.
It was natural. It was all natural. I was a side armor. 3/4. I wasn't like Kent Colby down submarine style, but I was 3/4.
Now, did you see that and develop it, or just natural throwing?
It's natural throwing, and I'd always been told. I remember my little league coaches: get your arm up, get your arm up, get your arm up. This is a precursor to later where I'd eventually have arm trouble, but. I don't necessarily attribute my arm trouble to sidearm. It was the follow-through of the sidearm. You can be a sidearmer and do it correctly, which I wasn't because I was successful doing it the way I was doing it. And people were trying to get me to get my arm up, stay higher, throw the top of the baseball, all these things that you may hear growing up or at a higher level. They were trying to get me there, but I was so successful at the sidearm level, the movement I was getting on my pitches, the two-seam fastball. I'm learning all these things on the fly. And it's better than anybody else around.
Right.
My slider was moving 2 or 3 feet, starting in the strike zone and just sweeping out of the zone.
And you're a right-hander.
I'm a right-hander.
Yeah.
My two-seam fastball, they said I had a heavy ball. Like I wasn't blazing fast. I threw hard.
Right.
But the movement that I'd have would constantly hit that catcher right in that part of the glove that didn't have the padding.
Right.
Just pop real loud. So I was learning those things.
Now, who's teaching you these pitches?
Well, Tony Karenni was very instrumental in the day-to-day. Our pitching coach was a gentleman named Al Smilowitz. He's an old man, he had pitched. He always joked that he had played with Babe Ruth, but I really think he did. He was an older gentleman. His son was a football coach, so it ran in the family in La Mirada. He was always there. He and Karenni were like, it was Karenni and Smilowitz.
Right.
So he was there guiding me, and I think he saw something special and would let me go. And this is days before calling pitches, and I think there were suggestions every once in a while like, hey, you should do this. But my catchers in high school, starting my junior year, were calling the pitches. Like they were making the decision, and I was saying yes or no. So things were different, but we're working on bullpens, and
now there's charts and graphs, and someone's got an iPad.
There was none of that. None of that. It was all feel, where the guy in the box is, their reaction to the pitch before. Can they catch up to this? Right. Are they going to hit this? That kind of stuff. I want to say that I was throwing 87, 88 as a junior, which is pretty good in high school, especially for no training. There was I wasn't going to a special off-season thing where I was trying to gain 5 miles an hour.
Oh, God.
They were trying to get my mechanics to be smooth, and things worked out as a junior. We ended up making it to the CIF finals. We went through Sean Green's Tustin team that was supposedly supposed to be the CIF champion that year. We got through him. He is one of 2 major leaguers that hit the hardest ball off of me. He hit a ball that, I'm not joking, probably didn't get more than 3 feet off the ground, and it hit the wall.
Just mashed it.
Yeah, he got a single. It was hit so hard, it was a single off the wall in the semifinal game of CIF. And then we ended up playing Mike Sweeney's undefeated Ontario team. He played a long time for the Royals. They ended up beating us. We had a rough beginning to our CIF final game at Angel Stadium, but that's where I got my first taste of this is how it could be in the future.
Right.
Kind of going back, that was kind of when people ask you, what do you want to be? I from when I was 7 until my senior year of high school, the answer was I'm going to play Major League Baseball. It was a dream that I didn't know how difficult it was. There was no one telling you the stats. I just thought it was something, if you're good enough,
it happens.
You go there.
Right.
And I knew about minor leagues and, spring trainings and stuff like that. But if you want to talk about later, I can tell you when that dream actually burst. I didn't believe what I was seeing, but I wanted to be a baseball player. So I was good, and I kept trying to be better, and I ended up being 23-1 my junior and senior year. 7 saves, and my ERA was 1.1 or something like that. So I was pretty good in high school. I don't know where I'd rank myself. I was the Southwest Player of the Year. I was on the Press Telegram's the Dream Team back then, with Nomar Garcia-Parra and Dante Powell and a bunch of people that went on to be major leaguers. Played in the area code games with Dante Powell.
And that's big.
Yeah, and I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't know what I was doing. I actually came down with some plantar warts on my feet in my senior year after. And I remember them saying, do you want to play? And I was like, I could barely stand in my cleats because the metal spikes were actually hitting a couple of these things that were on my feet. And I'm like, I want to play because it's the Dodgers. I wasn't playing because this was going to further my career. It was a showcase for people. It was because it was the Dodgers area code team.
Right.
I was going to get to wear Dodger uniform. You know what I mean? And
sure, that's
so
huge.
I went. That actually got me to go get those warts removed off of my feet. So that I could play in these Dodger uniforms. I actually wore Jeff Hamilton's uniform, his spring training uniform, because they gave you know what I'm saying? Like,
right,
I mean, these are so silly, like thinking about it now, but back then, you didn't have a Dodger uniform just laying around that you could put on.
You couldn't go find it.
Yeah, they were so soft, and they were like they were like a different polyester than the stiff ones that I was wearing in high school.
They didn't sell them.
No. So, like, you could see they'd written his number in it. His last name was in the pants, the jersey, you know what I mean? So that was cool for me. That was really cool for me. And then, you know, I don't know where you want to go, but we can keep going.
So okay, your senior year ends.
Yeah.
Is there any now like recruiting? Anybody showing up? Anybody knocking on doors?
Well, that's a funny story too. My last game of my senior year is when I hurt my arm.
Right. But as now you're getting recruited like 8th, 9th, 10th, 12th. Because I remember covering the Cole when he was playing and the Yankees, everybody's coming in. Like every time he threw Cole, it was like a circus. Like everybody in OC it was an event. At what point did you notice through your senior year that
it was late in my junior year?
Okay.
I noticed the scouts starting to come. They can't come and talk to you at a certain point. But late in my junior year, they started coming. You'd see the guns go up. There are 10 or 15 people in the stands. And different days were different. You know, they would come out more when there were multiple people to see rather than all of them come to see one person. Right. I don't feel like it was that level, but I remember that game that I was pitching. There was a lot of people in the stands and a lot of guns going up. Like you could see it. You get ready and set, and then all of a sudden the hands would raise. It was like a bunch of people standing up. Right. You just see it out of the corner of your eyes. So you had to kind of get used to that.
How did you take to that?
I was fine. Like I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
I didn't know what.
Right.
Because I'm not talking to them.
Right.
They're just there. They're watching. They're evaluating.
Are mom and dad come into games at this point?
All the time.
Okay.
Yeah,
have they said?
No.
Mom's not like, boy, Mikey, on the way home.
I think my dad would make comments like, I saw some scouts, and the gun said, the gun. Okay. He was more enamored by the technology of them having a radar gun. I mean, seriously, you didn't have radar guns.
No.
Like you couldn't.
I have an app for that on my phone now.
It was a special thing when you'd go to like a game and they had that little cage where you'd throw the ball and it would measure how fast it was going, and it was never accurate.
It didn't turn into like the Ball family where your dad wanted a YouTube channel and he just bleeds off his kids. Like it was just
he would walk by because he didn't want to interrupt, and he'd like peep. He'd peep to see what the radar gun was saying.
Right.
He wasn't watching. He didn't go buy a radar gun. He didn't carry a stopwatch. My dad did taxes, so he would only get to see the second half of the season usually.
Right.
He'd miss March and April. He'd miss February, March, and April up until April 15th, and then he'd be at the games. Mom was at every game. Biggest cheerleader there is. She'd yell yes every time I'd let go of the ball. It could be 5 feet outside, but there would always be a yes. And like looking back, that was really awesome. Like just, my best friends were there, and girlfriends at the time were there. That's what
That's what you take, but it wasn't this big event where I'm walking on campus, there's scouts, today's the big day. It was just Mike having fun baseball time.
Yeah, it was baseball time. And
so pure.
But with no aspirations. I don't know why they're there.
Right. You don't know the end game.
I don't know if they're major league scouts. I don't know if they're college scouts. I don't know anything. I don't know who is there. Right. Later in my junior year, I start getting letters.
Okay. Right. The typical recruiting
It's a standard letter from major league teams and from colleges.
Okay.
And it's like, hi, I'm Coach Mark Marquis from Stanford. Fill out this questionnaire and send it back to us. That means nothing, but getting a letter from the baseball coach of Stanford was awesome to me. Right. I got one from the Dodgers. I got one from the Astros. I got one from the Phillies. I got one from the Padres. I got one from the A's. I keep these things in a folder because I got something from the A's, and it's like right there on the letterhead. it's just fill out a questionnaire and like get you in their database. That's all it was at the time. But that was really special. It really was. Like those were things, I'd get those things in the mail. Coach Karenni actually took me aside at one point. I can't remember if it was late my sophomore year or late in my junior year. And he goes, where do you want to go to school? He was the first person to bring it up.
That's what I want to know. So he's the guy.
Coach Karenni says it. It's like in the summertime when nothing's going on. There's no school. We're sitting down in his classroom. He's like, I want to know where you want to go to school. I'm like, I don't know. I have no, like, what does that mean? Like,
so how are you academically?
I am probably high B, low A.
So you're not like, oh God,
3.7, 3.8 GPA.
Your only avenue is, community college because you just don't have the grades.
No.
And so there are avenues for you.
Yeah, at the time,
but you haven't thought of it.
Yeah, at the time, I might have been able to get into Stanford.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Now it's probably you got to be like 4.2, but back then it was probably much lower to go in and play sports. So it was an actual legitimate option. So when I got those letters back, I think it was, like I said, legitimate possibility. But so he sat me down. He's like, where do you want to go to school? And I'm like, I don't know. Why? And he's like, you've got an opportunity to play baseball in college. And I was like, I had no idea.
Yeah. So you say.
Yeah, it's so silly to think back, but like really no idea. So
you're so lucky how pure that was.
I know. I know. I look back on it and
blessed.
I wish I could.
Your mom and dad were overbearing and screaming and hollering.
Yeah.
This can set us up, right?
None of that.
Right. It was just you playing baseball with your buddies.
Right. And I think as it progressed, my dad started getting a little more interested, but there was no follow through. There was no we didn't call agents. We didn't call. There was
right. He wasn't setting up something.
None of that. So Coach Karenni actually physically handwrote, didn't email. He handwrote letters to my top 10 schools based on him helping me.
Okay.
It was basically USC, Stanford, Arizona State, Cal State Fullerton, Long Beach State.
The West Coast
teams.
Right. Group of 10.
Because he asked me, he's like, do you want to go out of state? He started asking me. And he probably had more, he was a NCAA referee at the time.
Okay.
So he was working the Big West. So he probably had connections with athletic departments and things like that and knew of everybody. So he sent all those letters out and I start getting those letters back. I think the major league ones, because they would show up at the game and hand the coach the letter to give to the player because they couldn't talk to you.
Right.
So I would get those from them, and then the colleges would mail me specifically, and I started doing that. But there was no follow through, no end game, I had no idea what I was doing. So I'd fill them out, send them back, and at that point I'm like, maybe I'm going to Stanford, maybe I'm going to USC. They emailed me,
right? That
kind of thing. So no idea.
So your senior year now, you're rolling through.
I'm 10-0, 11-0.
How big have we got now? 6'3"?
I might have grown up. I might have grown an inch. Yeah,
put some weight on?
Not much. Not much.
Any new pitches?
No, same thing.
Okay.
They're riding.
But it's better.
They're riding. Yeah. I'm getting.
You got command.
More accurate. Way more command. I'm now calling my game. The catcher's calling, but I'm
right.
And I am. I'd say, I've never been I'm the guy, but I'm the number one pitcher.
Right.
We're going to win when I'm on the mound, that kind of thing. I've got this mentality of we're not losing and never blame my teammates. I'm a big team guy. Like, it wasn't just me that won. They had to score runs. It was like they had to score runs or else we don't win. So I hope that doesn't come off as me being
no.
I'm getting more confident in myself and my ability as a pitcher and
that's being an athlete
and where my prospects are going.
Right.
Like, I'm going to play Major League Baseball. This is still a dream. Until that last game, we were in CIF in the playoffs, and we're winning, and I'm on the mound, cruising. And
Who are you playing?
I don't even remember.
Okay.
Like, I honestly don't remember.
But you're dealing.
I'm dealing. Everything's good.
happens?
I throw a ball halfway up the backstop.
What do you throw? What pitch?
It's fastball.
Just fastball.
Fastball goes.
Like you've done it a million times.
And I get this sharp zing that I've never felt before.
Worse than the BMX park?
No. But it was shocking. It hurt really bad, but it was more shocking than, because I'd had arm pain before.
Sure.
Where you just go home and shake it off and tomorrow it'll be better. But this one was, it's pretty painful. And I, wiggled my arm around, and then I made the decision like, that was a fluke. I'm going to do this again. I might be understating the pain because...
Why is it every Tommy John guy does that? Vinny did that same thing.
Yeah. I mean, you can't believe it because you felt pain before. You felt a little twinge here and there.
But this is not, you have nothing to register it to.
Yeah, exactly. So I decide I'm going to go again. I've gone into small shock, I'm sure.
Now, I'm
sweating.
Right. But is there no burning pain, no blood, internal blood or anything? You can't see anything.
I didn't look yet. Okay.
So a little denial, maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely denial. I jump back up on the bump, let's go four-seam fastball, the easiest, whatever. I'm just going to throw a strike. And the ball went higher up on the backstop. I mean, we're talking like...
Where's your release point at this point? Anywhere?
Well, as soon as the pain starts, I let go as soon as I lifted my arm. Basically, that's what's happening is you're letting go of the ball because it hurts, and I immediately everybody's laughing in the stands. I hear the laughing,
right,
and I immediately just start walking to the dugout like I just ended the inning, even though it's like.
But
I'm done. There's no throwing. Coach met me at the foul line, and I just kind of peeked up, and I saw all the scouts packing their guns to leave. There's no reason for them to stay anymore. So that was
I would love to know what's going through their mind. How many of them have seen that?
Right.
I don't know. Go to themselves, he blew his arm out.
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
Those two pitches aren't a fluke. One, yes, slippery, wet, something, whatever.
Right.
Two in a row, and the way he walks off, they check a box that has a small TJ.
I just remember, absolutely. I remember I put my head down and just started walking off the mound like I had either lost the game or just struck out the last batter.
It's over.
I'm not with purpose walking, but I'm just moseying, going over there. Coach meets me at the foul line. Trainer comes out. This is probably my first real interaction with a trainer. They come out and they're like, let me look at that. You're in high school. You don't have a trainer, but CIF rules says that you have to have in the postseason type thing. They come out. They set me down. I used to wear a neoprene brace under my sleeves.
Okay.
So I lift the sleeve up, and there was actual it looked like I'd been bit by a big spider. There was a stream of blood going down my arm toward my wrist, just a long red line.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, we're gonna need to get some ice on that. They're moving it around. It didn't hurt.
Right.
It wasn't gonna fall off, but it was kind of numb. I was going into shock a little bit. I was sweating. I'd been hit with a ball line drive before and actually passed out from the blood rushing back to my foot when I took my cleat off for the first time because I got hit with it, played the game, then took the cleat off, and my foot had swollen inside the shoe, and all the blood rushed down, and I just kind of passed out.
Such a Spartan,
I know. This wasn't like that, but I felt the onset of something. I was sweating, lightheaded, that kind of stuff. So something had happened. Again, I don't know what it was, naivety or what it was, but I didn't go to the doctor.
What?
It's the middle of the season. I'm not going to pitch game 2 anyway. They're not going to let me. They put me at first base and said, unless you have to throw, you don't throw. We're not throwing the ball around the infield. You don't make a throw on a double play. We're in CIF, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with this, but no one's rushing me to the doctor. They don't know. There's no broken bones. There's no
great trainer.
Yeah. and again, they may have suggested you should go see a doctor.
That might have been the first time he's ever seen that.
It's possible. Yeah, right? It was a young trainer.
We've had this discussion. Back then, Tommy John was still rare. Now people have it just as tune-ups.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm going to go get Tommy John.
Exactly. Right. Before it happens, I'm going to go get it fixed.
Yeah, and they do that.
I know.
Then it was you're part of a very small community.
Yeah. And again, this is a part of not knowing. So I ended up playing the rest of the season. We lost that next game. The trainer and the coach actually did set me up a doctor's appointment. That was part of the not knowing. They did, but it wasn't like go see a doctor tomorrow with the school insurance or however that works. So CIF, I played, we lost, season's over. That's my senior year of high school. Still have made no decision on my future. I don't know where I'm going, what I'm doing, why. But my dream of Major League Baseball had suddenly, I know myself, there's no way I'm throwing a baseball again. Right now. It hurts to make a fist. I'm not throwing a baseball. It's not happening. So I'm a little down, a little lost about that.
Now, this is May?
Yeah, May or June. I mean, before graduation, that kind of stuff. I want to say there was like a month period before I got to go see the doctor. Jesus. Because they set me up with Dr. Job.
Right, the guy.
Yeah. You know what? I don't remember. No, this didn't happen yet. I did go see the doctor. They told me to like rest it. There was no MRI. There was no.
Right.
They said to rest. Yeah, I didn't see Dr. Job until college.
Until college,
which, we're talking 6 months.
Right, but still, like today, you would have had an appointment. If you did that on Saturday, you have an appointment with him on Monday morning.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not recalling that correctly because I remember Chris Mumau actually set that appointment up. That's where we had to wait a little bit of time. So, cut back, I get a phone call.
But see, isn't Tommy John funny where you could have been not just fine, but you were able to do things for that summer, maybe a little discomfort, but it wasn't like a broken leg where it's like Mike's on crutches.
Right.
He can't move.
No, and it started healing.
Sure.
It started healing. Healing's probably not the right word.
It didn't, yes.
The swelling went down to where it wasn't
but it
inflamed.
wasn't a broken femur.
No.
So
I could do everything other than throw a baseball.
Right.
And I get a call, I don't know when that is, probably late June, something like that, like right around now for the fall semester of 1992 at Cal State Fullerton. I hadn't signed on with anybody. I had actually made a trip out to Oklahoma on a recruiting trip.
Wow.
Larry Koshel called me. I had made a trip out there.
What was that like?
Really awkward for a shy kid.
I was going to say, is that your first trip out of state?
Not out of state, but it's probably my first trip alone out of state.
Okay.
Because I got on a plane and went to Oklahoma.
Where'd you fly out of?
LA, right into...
So this is obviously pre-September 11th. So mom and dad walk you to the gate, slap you on the butt and say, have fun in Norman.
Yeah. And wherever they fly you into, because Norman's a small little town.
Right. They're probably in Oklahoma City, and then flying to Norman.
Yeah. Coach Koshel picked me up at the airport in a van, like a Scooby-Doo style van. We drove to Norman. He drove me in, dropped me off with some random dudes I've never seen before. They're the players.
Sure.
I don't know what to expect. Right. I have no idea what I'm doing. They drop me off. We hang out in their dorm room.
Okay.
And I'm just sitting there. Like, these aren't my friends. These aren't people that I know. They're supposed to be showing me around. We're just kind of hanging out, like getting to know. Hey.
Right. They're not professional chaperones like they have today. I mean, it's just an event today.
Right. Yeah, it's just me being babysat by a bunch of kids my age.
Today, that happens. A private jet picks you up. With those people on there, there's already handlers, chaperones, probably some already coach.
Right.
They fly you straight into Norman, and it's an event. Like, it's just dog and pony show.
Right.
They're giving you stuff. You're doing this, you're doing that. The best players, they walk you around. They take you to the stadium. They show you all. I mean, they just sweeten the pie.
Right.
But that's how still in 1989, or no, it was 91?
It's
91, right?
The summer of 91,
yeah. It was still, for Oklahoma, that had a ton of money.
Right.
It was still just rookie the way they did it. Coach picking up on a van, dumping you off in a dorm room with guys.
So they take me, to a restaurant for lunch, had a pickle bar. I remember it had a pickle bar, different pickles, like like a salad bar, but it was pickles. But the biggest thing I remember.
Were you a pickle guy? I mean,
of course.
Okay, good.
I mean, you know now, of course.
Right now, but
I'm like, this is amazing.
Like,
but I thought it was
I'm not really into.
I mean,
green pickles.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a barbecue joint, but I was more impressed with the pickle bar. But the biggest impression, the biggest impression was when we walked in. Everybody in the place stood up and clapped.
What?
For the players, because if I'm remembering correct, I'm actually putting the pieces together right now. If this thing is happening right about now, I'm coming out and there's some kind of postseason tournament going on. Because we ended up going to the big whatever they're in, Big 12, Big 10.
Right.
We went to that championship baseball game, and I'm guessing it was them playing. I don't know them from
anybody.
From anybody. And when at that time, it was probably 6 teams.
Yep.
In the tournament.
Yes, because it was regionals.
I have no idea what I'm watching.
Right.
It's a baseball game in a big park, way bigger than I've ever been in. It's like a mini Major League park.
Right.
And the place is full. Country music is blaring.
Right. All Oklahoma.
They're all singing the country music. It was an electric atmosphere. I remember going to...
Did that impress you? Or was that overwhelming a little bit?
It was overwhelming. Like, I didn't know why I was there. Like, I didn't see myself fitting into that situation. I think I had already made up my mind because I didn't know these people, and they're treating me funny. So back to the restaurant, we walk in. There's a standing ovation for the 4 guys and me that are walking in. They're giving autographs.
Right.
People are asking me for my autograph because I'm with them.
Sure.
They gave me
important.
Yeah, they gave me an Oklahoma hat to wear. You know what I mean? So I'm with them. Place dies down. We get ushered to our seat that's apparently just waiting there for people like that. Probably an NCAA violation at some point.
Sure. but that's normal in a town like that.
Sure.
Not that NCAA, but yeah.
I mean, they weren't handing them money, but they were giving them perks of here's a seat. Yeah, absolutely.
Come on.
So later that night, or the evening, I go to a practice, what I think is a practice, and it was probably their pregame batting practice for this event that I'm going to. Stand around the cage, do the whole thing, what you see today. And, talking about this, talking about that. Vern Rule was their pitching coach, who was a major leaguer, but also, and I remember I was impressed with that because I had his baseball card.
Right.
I had Vern Rule's baseball. I know that name.
Right.
I have a bunch of his baseball cards.
You're in my slot in my book.
Piecing all this together, I didn't know that they had just finished up coaching at Cal State Fullerton together. So, Cal State Fullerton was recruiting me. They left and went to Oklahoma. Now Oklahoma's recruiting me. So it wasn't like Oklahoma had traveled halfway across the country to see me.
But that's how it works then.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the network.
Yeah, and they're bringing West Coast guy out to Oklahoma to check things out.
The West Coast guy.
Right.
If we can steal him, that's big.
Yeah. So I piece all this together way later in life.
And that's actually how you start a pipeline.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because people don't decide for no reason, I'm going to go to Arizona State. Like, there was a pipeline.
Right.
Miami, there's a pipeline.
Yeah.
Texas, right?
Yeah. You bring one guy, and then all of a sudden, that guy knows 3 other guys. Exactly.
It's cool to go to.
Yeah. And in this day and age, everybody on your team is college eligible. So, like, I know this guy, and this guy could help us, or I know this guy that I played travel ball with.
Right.
So, yeah, pipeline for sure.
So you decide Oklahoma, not me.
I had made up my mind that first hour when I was in that dorm room with those guys. Like, this isn't my lifestyle. Like, it's just not who I am. So that had been my only real recruiting. Cal State Fullerton had reached out to me. Coach Vanderhook was like, "Hey, I want you to come and do a tour of Cal State Fullerton." And I'm like, I don't want it to be an official visit because I had done this Oklahoma thing. Because you're right over the hill. Like, I don't need to come and stay and spend time with the guy. Dad
can drop me off and I can just peek at it. unofficial visit.
I went on an unofficial visit to Cal State Fullerton because I thought I was, because you only get 2.
Right.
You can only have 2. So I didn't want, like, if Miami called me
or Stanford
or whoever called me where I needed to go somewhere, I didn't want to waste it on Cal State Fullerton. Again, I don't know the difference between Long Beach State, Cal State Fullerton, Stanford, USC.
Right.
I don't understand it. So Hook drives me around in his Honda Accord. We drive around campus. Back then, you could actually drive around campus. There was you didn't have to take surface streets. Went in and met Coach Garrido, met Coach Horton, Kirby, secretary, all the softball coaches that were in the small little area that eventually ended up being my office.
Right.
When I worked at Cal State Fullerton, that felt more at home to me, more down to earth, more of a easy transition for me.
Slower pace.
Yeah.
Not all the hoopla.
I'm not far from home. Like the thought of leaving home was not even on the table for me. I don't know why.
Right.
Just not the adventurous spirit, I guess. So cut to after my injury, I get a phone call from George Horton, and he goes, "Mike, we'd like you to play at Cal State Fullerton. Are you interested?" And I'm like, can you hang on a second? Put my hand over the phone because the phone was tied to the wall. We couldn't just walk around with it. Put my hand over the phone and I said,
interesting device.
Said, "Dad, what do you think? Should I go to Cal State Fullerton?" He's like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "Do you want to play baseball at Cal State Fullerton?" I'm like, "I guess." And he goes, "Well, I guess that's your answer." So I literally in about 2 minutes took my hand off the phone and said, "Yeah, I'll go to Cal State Fullerton." So that was my big reveal of where I was going to school.
Right.
I get a call and Coach Horton goes, "Good. Tomorrow is the last day you can register. I need you to come down to the school and we'll get you registered. They'll take care of your classes. We'll get you signed up, all this stuff." Now, this wasn't on scholarship.
Right.
This wasn't, I have no idea the financials on this, what it's going to cost. I just said, yeah.
It's never been discussed.
Never been discussed. So my dad has no idea. I mean,
a bill's coming.
Yeah. Again, it's like one of those things.
Let's just think of Mike at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what you want to do if baseball doesn't happen? Now there's injury. Do you want to be an engineer, a fireman, an astronaut? None of that's registered yet. Every little kid wants to be something.
I would say that summer was really rough for me, mentally, because the dream was over and I didn't know what I wanted to do. But, from what I hear, little bits and pieces, don't worry. That's what college is for. You figure it out. You got to go. Everybody kept saying, you got to go and get your GE, your general education, taken care of.
Right.
Because I was playing baseball now, I was happy. But inside, I knew that I still had this injury that I had no idea.
Now, do they know? Has it been discussed? I mean, they had to know, but is it being discussed?
Not being discussed.
So money's not discussed. Injury's not being discussed. You just got a day to get your ass down to Fullerton and register.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there was discussion. Maybe my dad made a phone call, but no, went down there. I assumed that they knew.
Right.
Yeah, because I showed up late in the fall, so that maybe they did know. The timeline on it is a little fuzzy because I ended up going to see the trainer. The trainer got me a doctor's appointment.
Okay. Wonderful Chris Mumau.
Yeah. Chris Mumau got me a doctor's appointment. So this is in 92. And
Fullerton's a juggernaut at that point.
Yeah, so they had just come off losing in the final game to Pepperdine in 92.
2-1 or whatever, something like that.
Again, I have no idea. I have no idea.
It is amazing that you could be such a enclosed soul.
I know.
In the as gifted as you are.
I know.
That you're just kind of happy.
Yep.
You're just this blessed flower in a field of other flowers. You have no idea.
No idea. No idea that what had just happened.
Right.
None. Or that Cal State or the history of Cal State Fullerton, or
they've won 2. They got the best player in baseball. They just lost to Pepperdine on a fluke.
Again, this is exactly like me deciding to play Little League instead of freshman baseball.
Right.
This is the same decision. It's the same for me. It's just I'm moving on. I want to stay where I'm comfortable. Story of my life.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I want to stay where I'm comfortable. Regardless of the talent level that I had or how good I was or whatever. So
you see the doc.
I go, and again, here's another one of those moments for me. My appointment is with a guy named Dr. Frank Jobe, the guy that actually invented the Tommy John surgery, the guy that cut open Tommy John's arm and created this surgery that saved thousands of pitchers. At the time, he probably hadn't saved thousands of pitchers. Again, he's Dr. Jobe. But to me, he's Dr. Jobe, the Dodgers doctor.
That's all you care about.
He's the Dodgers doctor. This guy's got to be great, right?
Right. He shook Tommy's hand. He's got to be great.
Right. He knows Bill Bueller, the Dodgers trainer, that I know the roster front and back. I've seen him on TV. Like, this is amazing. I'm going to Cedar Sinai Hospital. That's on TV all the time. There's commercials for that place. So I was more excited about that leading up to this than the prospects of fixing my arm so that I could play Division I college baseball and possibly win a national championship.
You know, they have a term for that. It's called a goober. Like
total goober.
Just like if you could have taken a selfie with him, you would have. If you could have taken a picture out front of Cyanide, you would. Like, it was
absolutely.
It became an event that you were at these important places.
Yeah. With stuff I'd seen on TV or exactly. So I go in. This has been a month in the making. It wasn't like call on Tuesday, you're in on Wednesday. He's got what he does.
He's got arms. He's a not young man, but he's not an older gentleman. He's still active. He's an active
surgeon. Yes, yeah,
probably in his 50s.
Yes, I would guess that for sure.
So he's got people all day long he's dealing with.
Yes, and
because I met him much later in life,
and the waiting room was saying the same thing. Like, there were 50 people in the waiting room.
Right. When waiting rooms back then were big and beautiful and nice furniture. Yeah.
So I go in, and I didn't know what to expect, but everybody kept telling me you're going to have x-rays and this thing called an MRI, and they're going to be able to tell what exactly happened to your arm. He walks in, and he shook hands. I'm all giddy. Inside, he shakes my hand, grabs my elbow with his. He shook with his right hand with my left.
Grabs you with the left.
Grabs my elbow with the left and pronates my arm. Just opens it up, like if you were pitching or throwing a ball. And he goes, "Yeah, we're going to need to have surgery." That's all he said to me. I'm like, okay, how does this go? What do you mean?
Mom and Dad with you? You're on your own?
I'm by myself.
How did you get to Cedar Sinai without a Google Maps? Thomas Guide?
Thomas Guide. Yeah, absolutely. Thomas Guide. My dad telling me you're going to go down here and here and here, and it's right there, right around here.
Page 73.
Exactly.
If you have to switch pages, it goes 16 other pages, and the LA edition.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, you got Riverside, San Bernardino.
My dad just gave me the LA one and said, "Here you go." I mean, he had to work. My mom had to take care of brother and sister, so I went down there. It was no big deal. It was just a consultation.
Sure.
Yeah, you're going to need surgery. I remember getting in the car. Couldn't call anybody. Didn't have a cell phone. But
you didn't have 20 cents on you?
What does this old man know?
Jesus. All of a sudden.
My arm feels fine.
All of a sudden he went from hero to old man?
Yeah. No, I was kind of angry. I was kind of angry. Like, there's no MRI. There's not even an x-ray. How do you know? Like, you're going to cut my arm open? So that's silly me.
Right.
So I go, I am just going to give this time to rest. So I go, and then
Chris doesn't check up and say, "Hey, how did it go?"
At some point, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's the timeline on this is a little skewed.
Right.
I'm trying to piece it all together, but at the end of the day, I go and I make it to fall practices.
Okay.
And I get out there and I'm playing with the guys that are a little older than me. They're really cool, nice guys. I start playing catch. Everything feels fine. I get on the mound like day 2 or 3 to throw my first bullpen, and it happened again. And I immediately packed my bags up. It was the non-mandatory practices. I packed my bag up and I walked down to Coach Horton's office. I had tears in my eyes. I'm like, I'm quitting. I'm done. And he goes, what do you mean? I'm like, I can't throw anymore. I'm done. So that was weird. It was a weird thing. I'd never quit anything in my life before, right. And I knew that I wasn't going to make it, and I didn't want to have surgery. I don't know what I was afraid of, but didn't want to have surgery. I was done. So for 2 years, I was just a student at Cal State Fullerton getting my general education done.
Right. Now, you make that throw. I mean, does it feel like it's being ripped away from you? Whatever dream you thought got ripped away from you your senior year, now there's another rip away again, like, oh, now I'm not even college baseball.
Yeah, not as much. I mean, again, I didn't know what college baseball. I thought it was just another high school level.
Right.
Like I didn't know. Like,
better than high school.
I didn't know. The guys were better. It wasn't
the minor leagues.
It wasn't the minor leagues. It wasn't professional baseball. So where is this going to go?
Right.
Again, total naive thought, but back then that's where I was, and
So you clean up for 2 years doing your GED. You're just normal guy on campus.
Yeah, and my friend from high school are taking classes together, and a couple people I knew from high school are there.
Now, are you finding any interests in college? Starting to I think I could do this, or I kind of have an interest in that.
Yeah, so I took a couple of, art classes, and,
because not to be an ass, but you're a jock, right? So now you're a jock no more.
Yeah. I was never the traditional jock.
Right. But you're branded.
But I am.
You got a jacket, you put on shoot.
Yeah.
Right? So now what are you doing? You're going, I'm finding, because your GEDs, you got to find something.
Right. No, I'm just taking all the classes that you're required to take.
Right.
And you're required to take electives. There's a certain amount of electives that you have to take.
Right.
I ended up, in high school, I had taken some art classes, and I enjoyed those. So I was like, what can I do? Oh, there's a painting class. I'll do this. So I took a painting class, and then there was a life drawing class. That was awkward, but intriguing. You're
awkward how?
There's naked people in the classroom. Charcoal. There's naked people in the class. You're drawing them for hours on end. You're taking 3 units of this, a unit at a time, for 6 hours a day during but there was something you were learning about art.
Right.
You had to take a history class, so I took an art history class, and all of a sudden, I didn't have this passion for art, but I was finding that I was good at it, and I was good at it, and I was understanding it, and
because if you go from drawing, you make a conscious decision that I'll do art history too,
sure,
instead of U.S. history or whatever.
Yeah.
So, is there something going on that's pushing that slide? Or is just I'm finding it? It was
internal. Yeah, it was internal. It was me finding that it was enjoyable.
Now, is it starting to become the same joy that baseball gave you?
No.
Or not yet?
No.
Okay.
No. You know what, to be honest, I don't know that anything has done what baseball did for me, in my life.
Right, no.
Getting married, having a child,
yes,
is totally different.
Right.
We're talking different stuff, but
but there's that is
nothing's filling that void.
Right, it's an addiction.
Yeah, nothing's filling that void because I've always wanted to be a master at something, and I think that was the closest thing that I was a master of. So, you could tell me, here's 9 squares on a wall. You know what I mean? There's 9 squares on a wall. I want you to hit the middle right one. I was pretty good at hitting the middle right one with whatever that was, a paperclip, a baseball, a ping pong ball, a fork. I just had that ability.
Right.
That was there for me.
And in my research, that's what Horton said, that you had, or what they saw, was unbelievable command.
I threw strikes. I was a good strike thrower.
Right,
Yeah.
and I remember Dave saying this when he was pitching coach, just throw strikes. Just hit the strike zone, and then let everything else happen.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, what good are you? Right? Like
Absolutely.
Right?
Like,
I mean, there's no such thing as a great pitcher that works outside the strike zone.
You're just setting up failure
Right.
with putting runners on base.
Right. So
yeah.
you felt at that point art was starting to become something of interest.
Yeah, it was gonna be a direction. It was gonna be a direction. I was not enjoying geology. I was not enjoying world history. I was not enjoying what was the other stuff that I was doing? Biology.
Right. Like the math, the biology, the English, whatever.
And math even came easy to me. Like I was pretty good at it, but it just wasn't doing anything for me. So I go 2 years and I start in on the graphic design stuff. At the time, there wasn't a graphic design major, and all of a sudden it's like computer stuff. And
right, this is 93,
93, 94. I'm trying to think,
the internet is just at universities at a childish level.
Nothing. We're still like
and computers are the
registering
size of
for class
mini
on the phone.
fridges.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they're enormous.
So there was a graphic design emphasis, and they were bringing the computers. There was computer labs and things like that. So I started moving that way. And my good friend, Wendy, was like, you miss baseball. Figure this out. Get your act together. Go get the surgery. And go play baseball. I don't know if I was being an asshole or what prompted all of this.
What did Wendy see?
I don't know, but she gave me the
kick in the pants.
Yeah, and I had a girlfriend at the time that, she was supportive,
but she didn't see it.
She didn't know me.
So who the hell was Wendy to have these balls?
Well, she's my oldest, longest friend, first of all. So she had seen little Mike to college Mike. I don't know. She's helped me a number of ways, a number of times. Yeah, a number of times in situation.
Right now, talk to Mike.
So outside of my girlfriend at the time, she was like, "Do this," and then all of a sudden, my mind's shifting, and I'm like, "All right, I guess I got to get another appointment to go see Dr. Job."
That's very Ken Revisa of her.
Yeah, and this is all also, if I remember correctly, without a plan moving forward. So this was without going to talk to Coach Horton and saying, I'm going to have surgery, I want to come back. This was get your arm right and then go find something.
So they left, I don't want to be crude, but they left you. Like you make the decision and they don't check back up on you. They're like, okay, we're moving on. Thanks, Mike. It was good.
Yeah, well, I quit. It was on me. Actually,
you could have come back in 30 days and been like, "You okay? How's it going?"
Yeah. No, and they may have. I'm not saying that they left me out to hang out to dry, but
badger you.
No. They weren't like, "Hey, please come back, get that thing fixed." And there was never anything like that. And they may have seen that early on from me. They may have, because I know Coach Serrano, who was later my pitching coach, was recruiting me from Cerritos College, and I had talked to him, and he's like, you were very uncommittal on things. And I'm like, I absolutely know that. So maybe that was a turnoff to them, and they weren't into following up with that. No fault of theirs.
Right.
So I have the surgery, I recover from that, and I go back to Coach Smilowitz and Coach Karenny at the high school, and I tell them I'm having the surgeries, I've had the surgery, and I want to start working out again. So I go and I start doing these bullpen workouts. I get a catcher that is either on the high school team currently, or this is 2 years removed from high school. It may have been someone I played with. I can't remember.
Right.
But I go out and start throwing, and Coach Karenny goes, "What do you want to do?" Again, he steps in and what's your goal here? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, I'll make phone calls for you. So he starts calling. He called Coach Snow at Long Beach. He called Coach Gillespie at USC. He called Coach Horton again. Let them all know that I was, back in the game or whatever. So I really appreciated that.
You would have thought the avenue would have been easier at Fullerton, being that you're at Fullerton.
I was embarrassed.
Okay.
I was embarrassed. Like I could have easily just walked into that office and said, Coach, I want to come back. Do you mind? But I was embarrassed,
And that's understandable. You're a kid.
And I didn't know anything about Coach Garrido's prowess at the time. But
you hadn't had much interaction with him at all.
I had interacted with him, and he wasn't someone you go in and go, Coach, can I?
Right. That's no.
He didn't care.
Right.
You were dealing with Coach Horton and Coach Vanderhook, and
you deal with the lieutenants.
So, I just Coach. If I remember correctly, Coach Snow called me and said, "Sorry, I can't." Like, one, because you were at Fullerton, you've already been their recruit. I can't steal you away. And he basically laid, like, USC could have taken me, but at the time they're like, yeah, we're not interested. And Coach Snow actually said, you need to go talk to Coach Horton, and because little did I know they're best buds. Right. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know this at the time. But
you didn't even know probably Snow was at Fullerton.
I didn't know who Coach Snow was. I hadn't talked to him in the first place about all of this. So, but I was very appreciative that he called. He actually called me and talked me through it and said, we can't take you away from another Big West school. All of these things.
Class.
It was top notch. Later, I learned to hate Long Beach State, but I've always had a special place for Coach Snow for what he did. So I ended up going back to Coach Horton, and they said, yeah, sure, come on out. We got nothing for you, but come, not try out, but come be a part of the team.
Let's see what you got, kid.
Yeah. So I'm a few months off of surgery. I'm not full bullpenning.
Okay, but have you grown any? And have you put on any weight?
I'm probably at my tallest 6'3.5", 6'4", whatever, and I'm probably 210 to 220 at the time, which eventually I think after being a senior it was like 230, and I was the fat guy on the team. Right. So I was a pretty big kid, but my arm strength wasn't back. It's not like Kerry Wood having arm surgery and he comes back and he's throwing harder. Right. I had to relearn everything. I'm not only just off surgery, but I'm 2.5, 3 years out of throwing my last pitch. Right. So I have to get my calluses back. Something that I never thought, your touch of the baseball. I had to learn. They were new baseballs. It was a college baseball, not a high school baseball. Was the leather different or the strings higher? The seams were actually higher than they were in high school at the time. They were giant, which helped my pitch, which was a slider. Helped me grip it and helped me sling that thing. And you're playing with balls that are newer. Newer, yeah. We're not playing with high school stuff. It's been around for weeks. These are quality things. So I'm relearning all of this stuff. So I'm told, Coach Garrido was the head coach. You are going to be a red shirt, which, again, I didn't know what that meant. It just meant that I wasn't going to play. You're not going to play this year. I didn't know how many years eligibility had. I had no idea that. Right. That was my next question, because your clock didn't start? It did start. It started in the fall of 92 for the 92-93 season. Okay, so it technically did. It did. So I've got 5 years to play 4 seasons. So I've already burned 2. So my third year, my red shirts year, takes care of that 5th year. Okay. So I will have a junior and a senior year to play. So it was worth it to me. I was going to be in for 3 years when I found that out. But at the time, red shirts were treated, looking back, it was awesome. But at the time, you're treated worse than what team managers are treated these days. You had to sit in the stands during the games. Oh, man. So I would I'd get there whatever time for a game. 7 o'clock game, you're getting there at 3 o'clock. suit up, dress up, get the field ready. As a pitcher, you're shagging fly balls, you're hitting fungos, you're throwing your bullpens, you're throwing soft toss. So you're doing no pitching skill, really. You are helping the rest of the team, which I enjoyed. You're listening to music, chewing on seeds, hanging out with your boys, that kind of stuff. Game time, infield, outfield happens. You clean up the field, you rake the mound, you rake the area, and then red shirts left. You grab your bag and you walk out to the parking lot and you change into street clothes. Then you go and you sit behind home plate in the stands and you chart pitches and you film the game. And you don't even, I think eventually we would go down on the field after a game for the team huddle, but it was like you had other things to do before you got to go to the team huddle. So you're coming in, if Coach Garrido's pissed off at the team, you're coming into a fiery conversation like two sentences too late, or you have no idea. You're wearing whatever they're trying to teach the next day.
Right.
If somebody messes up, you're running with the team at practice or whatever because of what they did. So it was like you're putting in your time, and it's good for the team, but it sucks being that guy. And there was, I want to say 4 or 5 of us red shirts that year, and we all
just grinded it out.
Now again, here we are, me not knowing that 95 team goes and is the best team in college baseball history, arguably. There's other teams that have had better records that didn't win the national, whatever. They go 57-9, win the national championship. I'm working at Sports Chalet. Again, here's the level. Here's the level that the red shirts are with this team. I'm working at Sports Chalet, and maybe it was just me, I don't know, but I'm working at Sports Chalet, and I hear Cal State Fullerton won the national championship. Maybe I had known that, but people had come into Sports Chalet decked out in Cal State Fullerton gear with like eye black on and balloons, and I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, they're having a parade today. I'm like, they're having a parade? Where? At the stadium. So I go to my boss and I go, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go. Can I go and see the parade? Can I go see the parade? Not be a part of the parade. Can I go see the parade? I race over from Sports Chalet, which is right over the hump of State College. It's like 7-minute drive. I get to the stadium, and it is like I missed my 16th birthday party. There are streamers everywhere. There are balloons in the backstop netting. The field's a mess. No one's there. They're on their way to Disneyland.
Right. It's happened.
Yeah.
Done.
I missed it. So I go back to work and finish out my shift and
clock back in because you missed 14 minutes.
To be honest, I don't know if I remember ever, one, being invited to any kind of end-of-the-year gathering for that team.
Well, it had to be an inner circle thing because there's no communication back then.
No.
Now there's a massive email and text and everybody says.
And I didn't live with the players either. That was another thing. Like I stayed at home. So I didn't live with anybody. I wasn't told. I didn't see anybody. I was working. I needed a job because I was doing, had stuff to pay for as a 21, 22-year-old. You just got to work at that point.
You got to pay bills.
I wasn't on scholarship, that kind of stuff. So I don't remember that being a ordeal when they handed out the championship. Like they went and did tours of Angel Stadium and Disneyland and all these things. They got sweatsuits and all this stuff, and they're all decked out. And wasn't a part of any of that stuff, but I was a part of that team. I felt like, I still know those guys. They all know me. We're not like we don't hang out and stuff, but there are a couple people from that team, Ted Silva, Mike Lamb, Todd Singlin. There's a number of people that I've stayed in touch with, that Mark Chavez, that just over the years working with Cal State Fullerton, that it's come back and been really cool. But that tie to that national championship team, it was really cool, and that might have been the first time I understood what you're what you're shooting for.
Right.
So 92 when I'm in there, they had just finished that and they lost.
Right.
This time they go out and they win and they're dominant, and all of a sudden I'm realizing I just played with a great team. Mark Kotze was on that team. I remember, feeding him soft toss and doing all these things and watching him. The thing I was most impressed with that guy was his ability to read a ball off the bat. That was the first time I think that I had started learning about like scouting, because I was watching the game more than I was playing the game.
Right.
So I'm watching him. I don't know, is it Field of Dreams where you see, it's either Field of Dreams or 8 Men Out, where Shoeless Joe Jackson, you see him like shift his feet.
Right.
Because he recognizes
I think it's 8 Men Out. Yeah.
where the ball's going to go, or he's anticipating something. Right. Kotze had that. He hit all the home runs. He had the arm. He was Superman. Those were the things that I remember saying. Like, I remember going, Kotze, this is me scouting in my head. He's going to play 20 years in the big leagues. He may not hit 419, but he's going to hit 260, 270 for 20 years, and he's going to be a team guy.
And you don't realize that there are guys just like that.
Yeah.
He
ended up being that guy. I mean, he wasn't a superstar, but he was a smart guy.
I don't think he ever made an all-star game.
No. He didn't win championships.
Didn't he win one with the Marlins, but like the fifth? He was like the fifth outfielder.
Yeah, he might have gotten it. He wasn't there during he wasn't on the postseason roster type thing. But he did play like 20 years, 17 something years, and he did hit 260 or 270. Not that meant anything, but I was just like, that was my evaluation at the time I saw that. Watching Ted Silva pitch was the same.
But I bet you if a guy could say, let's take Cordero, right? He has it. He gets an all-star. He gets the most saves for at one point with Montreal or in the Nationals. And his season's over, 4 years, 5 years? It was boom. If you'd have told him, would you like to do 20? I bet he takes the 20.
Yeah. Those little spurts of glory are kind of cool to relive too. Right. But yeah, if you can make a living out of that, baseball is such, I can't even remember the numbers that they are right now, but out of high school, the fact that you going in to play college is like 2%. Right. 2% of high school kids go and play college, and then 1% or 2% of college go in to play minor league. And then 1% of those minor leaguers get the opportunity to play at the next level. So we're talking. And that's
only like a 3-year. I think Major League Baseball is a 3-year life cycle.
And that was like the numbers a long time ago. So like I didn't know those were the odds that I was playing against. So
96 comes along in 7. Arms starting to feel alive again?
I'm chomping at the bit to actually get out there and
when do you finally get on the bump and feel like you're becoming you again? Fall?
What's weird is I don't think I ever felt like I did in high school.
Well, yeah,
but that first game, I needed to get my feet wet because I hadn't pitched in competition outside of inter-squad games in now 3.5 some odd years. And I remember we went to Pacific and we played at their old park. It was all damp and wet and gloomy, and I was sick. I don't know how to tell Coach Garrido that I'm about to toss my cookies in the dugout.
And that 96 team's supposed to be great again.
Yeah, I mean I think we came in number 1 team. We were 57-9. All of a sudden, Kotze's here.
Team's loaded, and everybody's thinking repeat. Woohoo!
We actually ended up going. I want to say it was 36-2 to start the season. So 57-9 plus 36-2. That's a pretty good string of games. But we get to Pacific. I'm sick. I have to tell Augie Garrido that I'm sick. And I've gotten to know him now. Then you don't mess with him. This isn't something you mess with. But I didn't feel like I was doing any good being in the dugout. I was going to throw up on somebody. I was feverish. When I didn't have to say anything. I walked up to him and Cliff Hatter were sitting next to each other. And Cliff goes, "I'll take you back to the hotel." He's
you
like,
must have just been gray.
I was white and sweaty, and I remember, I don't know what it was, but I went back to the hotel, slept it off. I had the flu of some sort, slept it off, came back the next day, and got in my first game. That felt great.
What inning did you come in?
It was late relief, so 6th, 7th inning, something like that.
How'd it feel?
Pretty surreal. Like I remember feeling like I was floating. Like
levitation.
I didn't have any control of what was happening. I just muscle memory for sure the whole time. So did that.
Well, hold on. Don't just jump. How did it go? I mean, come on. You haven't thrown for 3.5 years competitively. Are there competitive juices? Are you feeling like, okay, I could do this?
Yeah. Yes. And I don't know
it was
that
a million years ago,
but I don't know that I put so much into that moment because, as you know, in college, there's the whole fall. There's the whole. I've been pitching and I've been throwing strikes. It was mostly those competitive juices that I hadn't faced another team, hadn't had the possibility of letting your teammates down, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it was great. I was glad to be in that situation, but I also knew my place because of who was ahead of me in the rotation and in the bullpen. So I was mop-up guy.
Okay. But you got to get those innings in.
Absolutely. But I was mop-up guy. So it wasn't like I was going in to make a difference. I was going in, and maybe I did in that game. I think I was a stopper in that game. They needed my slider. They needed me to get an out or whatever it was, but I ended up pitching an inning or got out of it scoreless, if I remember correctly. I don't even want to go back and look because I probably didn't. But it was great to be back, like great to be legitimately, I'm playing a game.
So let's talk about the slider, because I've heard that this slider gave Kotze fits.
Yes.
It was wicked nasty.
Gave Kotze.
And I've heard from Dave, from Rick, from George. I didn't ask Augie, and I'm an ass, and I should have, but they all said it was nasty.
It was.
Don't be humble.
No. I won't be humble. I'm going to try and compare it. It was like Vinny Pastano's slider.
Okay.
When it was going good, it had more bite.
Could you feel when it was going good? Like, oh, today's the day.
Yes, and actually, no. It was the next year that I got it. I got a fine tuning my senior year, but yes, my slider. The days that it was going good, I could throw it wherever. And Coach Horton and Coach Serrano both used it as what they call a backdoor slider.
Okay.
And that's throwing it. So if it's sweeping to one side, you're actually making it sweep to the inside. If I'm throwing I'm a right-hander and I'm throwing to a right-handed batter, I'm throwing it behind the batter, trying to catch his knee and get that strike. And I could do that. So when things were going well, which was more often than not with my slider, I could do that. So I had probably lost 3 or 4 miles an hour from high school to college on my fastball after the surgery.
Okay.
So I'm not a powerhouse anymore. So
what are you throwing, 86?
On a good day? 84.
Okay.
Probably 84.
It's like Jared Weaver's last.
Yeah, when I popped 87, guys were like, whoa, what just happened? So
you're really pounding it.
Yeah, like what was that?
Someone's on a roid rage.
So the slider, I don't know what it was. It's that 3/4 arm slot that I have. And I'm a big guy, so I'm coming at you. I'm releasing out in front, and I'm more than likely releasing behind you if you're a right-handed batter. Or if you're a left-handed batter, it looks like I'm throwing it into the third base dugout,
right,
and it's coming back and clipping the edge of a plate. So that was my claim to fame. I mean, it was in high school too. I was throwing that same pitch in high school, but in college, I was probably throwing 87% sliders.
Okay. I
was using my fastball as a changeup.
Okay.
But the changeup I was increasing my speed. So, and my movement. So again, I'm throwing that heavy ball with the 2 seam. So it's rolling into a right-hander, not coming very fast, but moving. I'm getting 4 or 5 inches of movement on my fastball,
right,
and then throwing the slider that's moving 2 feet at a time.
So now this is happening. Starting to feel like Mike again. Where is your art in school starting to become a love?
Right about then.
So you're getting your arm and your love.
I am, and it's difficult because no one understands what being an art major is, not even me. But I'm living it, and so when we're going on the road and there's study hall for 2 hours,
you're doodling.
I don't have a computer, and I don't have a lot of books that I'm reading. So when Coach Vanderhook is like, pull your books out and get your studying done, my studying is actually drawing or computer work or these things that are in my major now.
Right, there's no laptop back then.
There's no laptop.
Right.
So he's kind of angry at me because I got nothing. So what I would do is I would bring books
to look like
I'm reading.
Right.
And I'm not a bad student, so I wasn't.
No, but it's just that was the classes you were taking.
Yeah.
So you're gonna bring some half-naked person to start drawing?
I would do those things. I'd draw people on the not half naked, but I'd draw people on the bus.
That's interesting.
Draw people in the.
Let's talk about that, Mike.
Draw people in the in the stands.
Sure.
When I had time, I'd sketch and doodle. And
did you have a little easel, sit there in the dugout, and just start drawing?
No, but I would doodle on the chart.
Okay.
I would doodle on the chart pages and that kind of stuff. So. Or the scrap paper. So I'm just keeping, I'm not doing my full schoolwork when I'm on the road. When I had tests and things to study for, I was doing that. But most of the time I had that stuff. And then also there's that, now I've got to convince my dad that I need a computer at home, and I can't have a PC. So we've got a family computer at the house, but everything that I'm learning at school is on a Mac. Macintosh, yes. A Macintosh, like 5600.
A rainbow apple with a bite out of it.
A nice cream colored. So I had to talk to, again, I'm not on scholarship, so my dad's paying for school. And I say, I need this computer. It would help me. This isn't one of those things like I just wanted a computer. It was, I don't have time to be at the school in the lab because I'm at practice.
Right.
So he ended up buying me a 5600 with a monitor, because you had to buy the monitor separate.
Right.
And a printer.
Wow.
Just over $5,200.
Jesus.
Yeah. Then I had to buy the software.
Right.
The Adobe software. Back then, you would purchase, if you needed Illustrator, you buy Illustrator, you buy Photoshop, and it wasn't a big package group. So those I remember being $150 a piece. Every time they upgraded, you'd have to pay another $150.
Right.
That was with the school discount. It was like $350 or $400 if you were a professional.
Discount,
yeah.
Right.
So I got myself set up at home. At that time, that's when we start getting the internet at the house. Modems and all. I had to buy a modem because I needed to be able to have email, because we started working on how to build websites and things like that in our art classes. So yeah, I'm really interested in this. This is the heyday also of Disney films, and I'd say that heyday of Disney films, the Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Aladdin, that time period was just as influential to me in my art than going to that game in 1981 with my dad about baseball. I don't know what it was, but those animated films with that music at that time period really hit me. Like it really something clicked. And I wanted to do that, but there was no animation at Cal State Fullerton.
Right. They didn't have that department class.
It wasn't a thing.
Right.
I mean, you either went to Cal Arts with John Lasseter and all those guys that are now like, I know John Lasseter is on the outs right now, but like at the time, all those guys were doing that thing. And they were building and creating all that new stuff. All that stuff that we know today as Pixar and Disney animation, that was all new and amazing back then. So I was really into that. And you can't get into that any more than I could get into that at the time because that information wasn't available like it is today. But I was watching, I was listening. When I was working, that was on in the background, like movies in the background. I'd put that VHS in and let it go, and I'd try and find something new about the art of that movie every time I'd watch it.
And you're trying to balance being a college baseball player.
Yeah. I mean, and nobody has those interests.
Right.
No one. So I'm quiet. I'm quiet about it. Like, I'm an art major student athlete. That just didn't happen.
A unicorn at that point.
Yeah, it didn't happen. So when I went to coach and said, hey, can I get a computer? He goes, why didn't you ask for this before? And I'm like, it wasn't a thing. Is it a thing now? And he's like, no, we can't. So like, there was no, like, I couldn't have a laptop with me on the road to do anything. So
right.
I was asking special permission every now and again to leave practice to go to class. Just because art classes, I mean, you're probably aware with photo classes, they're 6 hours long.
Right. And they're
twice a week or whatever it is.
Yeah, and it's 1 to 5.
Yeah,
so they're never.
Off days. I'm trying to get in the lab. I'm trying to get teacher time or professor time. So it was difficult. It really was. It was. I probably wasn't able to give my all in the art stuff. But I was succeeding. I was in the top 10% of all my classes in terms of the quality of work that I was doing. I don't know where to judge. I've always been very humble and critical of myself. So I don't know if I'm really good or if I'm just good at taking little bits and pieces and faking it.
Right.
Like this imposter syndrome of I don't know where I stand on all that. I know that I'm talented because people tell me that I'm talented, but I don't feel like I'm creating. I feel like I'm taking bits and pieces of everybody else's creations to create my stuff. So I'm learning all these things along the way at Cal State Fullerton.
So, I mean, because you started classes in 92,
Mm-hmm.
and you go 3, 4, 5, 4, your surgery, 5, red shirt, 6 and 7. In those 5 years, was there a class, an art class, or a professor that they saw something in you or said something, or the class that flipped the switch and was like, I can make a career out of this?
Yeah.
Because you can love art, but then somebody's got to be like, yes, student 1745,
right,
you can do this.
Yeah, there were probably 2. One, his name was Doug Henry, and the other one, her name was Anna Victoria, and I don't know how to say her last name. It was like Annelle, Annelle, Anna Victoria. We all called her Anna Victoria. Those 2 professors treated the class and prepared you for the real world.
That's nice.
Yeah. It wasn't theory. It wasn't teaching you balance. It was teaching you how to have thick skin. It was teaching you how to present your work in the best light, even though you're putting lipstick on a pig. Like you're taking a bad design and making it the best you can. They're showing you how to present that to make it not look as bad as it is. They're teaching you
practical application, how it's going to be in the real world.
Absolutely. And they both talked about their real world stuff. So they were professors that were actually working in the industry, which you don't see a lot.
No, it's pointing to a book or a slideshow and saying that's how you...
Or their past of 30 years ago or whatever. So you got to take some of it.
This is how we did it in the 50s.
Right. So
thanks, that's helpful.
And remember, digital graphic design is still really new.
Oh, yeah.
They're still doing... I am on the cusp. I'm probably months ahead of the computer switch to have it. I didn't have to do a lot of paste ups, which I didn't set type by hand. I did everything on the computer. We learned on the computer. Cal State Fullerton was all in on that. Later, when I go into my jobs, we are just on that cusp too, just outside of pay stubs and the old way of doing graphic design. There's still aspects of it that are old school, like when you get printer's proof and, there's separations and all kinds of stuff. Today, you send a PDF to the printer and you get your job and you barely even see a proof because the proof that you sent them is what they're sending back to you to approve. So, the middleman is gone now. So
that was part 1 with Mike Greenlee. Number 2 is already uploaded and ready for you to listen.